Although the problem of lead contamination was identified in Boolaroo around 2 years ago, this is the first visit to the suburb by a government minister. Chris Hartcher began the day by speaking with council officers at Lake Macquarie City Council. Down the road at the Environmental Health Centre, he continued discussions with residents. The main point of talk: what is the government going to do about cleaning up lead contamination caused by the Pasminco smelter?
It clearly is something that needs to be addressed. And that's why the state government is preparing a lead position paper, which I and the Minister for Health, because it's also a health issue as well as an environmental issue, hope to be taking towards the Cabinet soon.
However, the Minister would not commit to any clean-up plan. So in other words, you can give these residents no guarantee of funding, no guarantee of how long it's going to take?
I can give the residents a guarantee that the government is with them in achieving a solution to the problem.
The community in general are asking the question, what are they doing about it, and we in turn ask the EPA what are they doing about it, and then they in turn ask the government what are they doing about it, so it's a vicious circle.
As well as the lead issue, Mr Hartcher was also questioned on Fame Cove, an area of natural bushland in Port Stephens which the federal government has offered to help buy. But Mr Hartcher could give no guarantees on that either. Federal Minister Ros Kelly recently announced that the government would contribute half the money to buy the peninsula if the state put in the rest. But Mr Hartcher says there's more to the deal than that, as the state would also have to foot the bill for managing the land.
It would look likely if we can get a positive response from Canberra. What we want is better advice from Canberra and a fairer go from Canberra as to its future management and recurrent costing.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
It's serious stuff for 6-year-olds in Sabos, adults relegated to pit crew and spectators. Most of the sailors are aged between 6 and 16 and are competing in 3 divisions. As well as single and 2-man crews in the Sabos, there's an open class for most other training-style dinghies. The conditions were just right for even competition sailing, with the course set close to the clubhouse to provide a colourful spectacle. It's an amateur competition, but major sponsor BHP has provided a fully rigged fiberglass Sabo as first prize. The word went out among many small clubs around the state, and more than 150 sailors registered for the 2-day regatta, forging new inter-club contacts. This is a trial game for the Blues. They've been together for just 1 week, and in another week from now they'll be taking on the best from around the country at the National Championships in Sydney. At training today, home team the Hunters gave the 12-man squad a good shake for some hard-fought points. Newcastle's Darren Winterbine, wearing the blue number 14 singlet, was out to show coaches Rex Nottage and Graham Baker that he's got what it takes to make it to the Nationals. Maitland's Adam Boyle, wearing the number 9 singlet, was determined to push for court time after making it in as a reserve. Newcastle's Michelle Tideman was selected in the women's under-20s team as well. Encouragement comes from all quarters in the Special Olympics Carnival. Regional meets such as this give the intellectually disabled a competitive arena leading towards state or national representation. Poolside today you'd find gold-winning Paralympian Stacey Smith urging others on, whether over 25 metres or a 100-metre butterfly. Champion basketballer Lorraine Archer is a talented all-rounder, swimming just to keep fit for the court. Winning grins accompany medal presentations, and with 9 Special Olympic golds to his credit, a few encouraging words from Joseph Walker go a long way.
It's where I started, and I recommend that anyone else who's got a disability start in the same place.
More than 40 drivers were let loose at the Newcastle Motordrome to smash one another's cars out of contention in the demolition derby. Just 2 battered competitors were left running through the wreckage, but rather than fighting to the death, prize money was awarded to both Alan Pegler and David Revis. The modified rods provided almost as much scrap metal, littering the track with blown engines and rolled cars. Steve Robinson weaved his way through to take the state championship. More than 500 competitors rallied from clubs covering the coast from Scott's Head to Red Rock. Woolgoolga, though, used the home beach advantage to run away with the water events. Club members Luke McConnell, Nicole and Beth Moffat made a clean sweep of their age divisions in the surf, swim, board paddle and iron person events. Belinda Neville and Daniel Grazier from Coffs mirrored the tally in their respective divisions, while Grant Laverty won the surf, swim and iron person. The branch championships are a testing ground for some state team qualifying events. Meanwhile, back at Coffs Harbour, board riders were making the most of decent 1 to 1.5 metre waves at Diggers Beach for the first club competition for '93. Andrew Lindley got up in the opens with Lee Winkler surfing through to take the under-18s. Marty Emsen was credited with the under-16s and Mark Baptiste with the over-28s. Kylie Groves was the girl to watch. Dane Heath scored his way through to the under-14s. In the novice grommets competition, Mick Harley made his mark.
When the Nelson Bay RSL Club first introduced Keno, friends Lillian Preston and Graham Veazey were among the first to give it a try. Today they spent $5 on their first game in 6 months, and when Graham went to check the winning numbers, he thought they'd made a mistake.
First, I thought I'd done something wrong with the ticket. And, well, I was a bit nervous because the bloke come after me, wanting to know, whether I had the right ticket, had the ticket. And when they put it through the machine, that was a shock. That was when you see it flash up on the counter, 1.7, 4 million. It's a lot of money.
I didn't get excited or anything about it. It hasn't even sunk in yet.
Graham has been unemployed for more than a year. Lillian does voluntary work for the Salvos. You'd think they'd know what to do with all the spare cash, but today, over a quiet drink with Graham's parents, they were too stunned to say.
I'll have to think about it, find out now what I'm going to do, pay some bills.
Do you know what you're going to do with the money?
No, I don't. I haven't even made up my mind.
For Keno punters interested in how to pick that winning combination, here's their system.
We started off playing those systems, but I changed the numbers without Lillian telling her, and that's what won, actually, I think, the change of the numbers. The numbers I changed.
The meeting was held behind closed doors at the old Wallsend Hospital site. The Area Health Service, picketers and trade union officials trying to end the dispute. It's been 18 months of confrontation and debate. A picket line was set up in August 1991 after the hospital was closed by the Area Health Service. The picketers have stood firm, manning the site around the clock. The building has remained vacant. Today, some encouraging news from the man who originally announced the closure.
I believe the proposals that they gave to us today could form the basis of a solution to this dispute. There'll be some further discussions over the next week or 10 days, and I'm hopeful that they'll lead to a resolution.
Two options for the site have been discussed. It's believed one idea is to reopen the wards as a public nursing home. The picketers are hopeful the battle is nearly over.
We hope we can do the right thing, Peter, by the people.
A resolution from today's meeting will be put to the entire group of picketers this Sunday. If it's accepted, the protest could be over in 2 or 3 weeks. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Ambulance officers were called to the 5-hectare property at Wootton late on Friday afternoon, where Trevor Lovell had been clearing some land. Trevor was apparently stung twice on the neck by a wasp. A short time later, he fell ill and collapsed. An allergic reaction to the wasp bites caused dramatic swelling, which blocked his air passages. Ambulance officers tried to resuscitate Trevor Lovell, but he was dead on arrival at Bulahdelah Hospital. Early reports suggested he may have been stung by a deadly European wasp. However, Constable Martin had a sample of the wasps from the Wootton property identified by the Department of Agriculture.
The only nest that we found in that particular area was that of an Australian native wasp, and I don't have the botanical name for it, but we have established it as not a European wasp.
It's believed Mr. Lovell had an allergic reaction to a native paper wasp. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Over 1 million Brits turned out to see off the 100 vehicles in that first London to Sydney rally in 1968. Ultimately, the winner would be, of all cars, a Hillman Hunter, beating into submission all the Monaros, Falcons and Jags. The finish in Sydney was bedlam, and everyone believed the race was too tough on cars and drivers to ever attempt it again.
Go on, get out of the way. That's the way you do it?
That's it. That's what you've got to do, go round if they get in your way.
They're going to try anyway, in many of the same vehicles that rallied their way across the world 25 years ago. On back roads outside Sydney, John Williams and Ross Alexander are practising, if that's the right word.
Is it dangerous to drive in a marathon?
Well, it's as dangerous as you make it. The more competitive you make it, well, the danger comes into it. But every day we have two special tests, what they call them, which are obviously will be speed sections, and that could be dangerous.
These two Monaros would leave even the Dukes of Hazzard choking in their dust. But a few months ago, they started their second life as wrecks. John Williams has completely rebuilt them, seam welded all the panels and thrown in extras like a state-of-the-art firefighting system that makes them a lot safer for the race.
It was well ahead of its time. It still looks modern these days. It is a comfortable car, it is fast, it is heavy, and it is a very reliable car. It's not a fast revving car, it's a slow revving slugger, which will just keep plodding along, we hope.
As they did 25 years ago, the race will gallop across Europe, but then deviate to avoid the political hotspots of the 90s. Last time round, Nick Britton and his wife Jenny were the only husband and wife team competing. This time, Nick is the organiser.
Are you surprised you've had so many entries?
Oh, absolutely staggered. Within a period of 4 months, we had 198 applications paid up with money from 22 different countries around the world who wanted to be in it.
Jenny Britton will be competing again with one of her old female chums from England. To cater to Islamic sensibilities en route, her driving costume has been modified somewhat.
And it's the first time I've had it on.
Very becoming too, I think.
If you like that sort of thing.
Excuse, this is a slightly chauvinistic question, but will you be taking your makeup kit and all, you know, those other things?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, only one hairdryer, though.
Do you speak any Iranian?
Mate, I'm flat out speaking Australian.
The sacrifices you have to make to compete in this marathon are endless. John and Ross have made what to many Australians would be the ultimate one.
Because I haven't had a beer since New Year's Eve, and I'm not going to have one until the 16th of May when I get back.
You're a brave man.
But it's hard, I said, not having a beer because I love them.
Are you worried about driving in what may be the world's largest box of Cocoa Pops?
I think it'll be fantastic.
Given the risks, the months of hard work and the cost, which averages at about $100,000 a vehicle, you'll probably agree that the occupants of this car aren't so much Coco as Loco. But you have to love this kind of driving to understand their reason for being in it.
After all, the last one was 25 years ago. There may not be another one for another 25 years, and maybe my son might be driving this car then.
Having nights back Robbie O'Davis and Canberra second rower Brett Hetherington at school proved a special treat for Medford public students. After a few quick words of footballing wisdom, it was outdoors and on to the practical side of the game. 22-year-old Hetherington is still recovering from shoulder surgery and will miss next Wednesday's game, but he says the Raiders are ready.
They're all injury-free except for Bradley Clyde. I think Laurie Daly's playing, Gary Belcher, and we're looking forward to a big game from all the internationals.
What about some imports?
Well, the newcomers are John Lomax and Quentin Ponga.
Robbie O'Davis injured his right quadricep during last Friday's Sevens game against Western Suburbs. It's still doubtful if he'll start on Wednesday.
I'd like to feel I'm pretty confident to play in the match, but at the moment I'm 50-50 chance of getting there, and if I'm all right by this Monday, I'll definitely play the game.
Knights coach David Wade has named a squad for the Challenge Cup clash. O'Davis and Matthew Rodwell included, but still on the injury list. There's 5 reserves, 1 is to be omitted. The squad is to be finalised next Monday. Catherine Lamond, NBN News. When Cardiff North Primary School pupils arrived at the regional museum, they had no idea which one of them would be the 50,000th student visitor. As they piled through the turnstiles, museum staff were on hand to grab that lucky visitor, 10-year-old Janine Zarzak.
Janine was presented with a certificate and had the honour of cutting the cake. A simple visit to the museum had turned Janine into a star, and she was a little overwhelmed by it all. How does it feel to be the 50,000th student?
Great.
Did you have any idea when you walked through the door?
Mm-mm.
Big surprise?
Yes.
And what have all your schoolmates thought of it?
I don't know.
School visits like this are an important part of the museum's program.
We've had kids from Moree, from Coffs Harbour, from Sydney. We're really becoming established as an educational resource. At least we hope we are, and we think 50,000 kids says we are.
And as part of this special day, the students were entertained by Aboriginal singers Oriel and Reuben Andrew.
There'll be no surprises for light music lovers with the work of such legends as Andrew Lloyd Webber, George Gershwin, Cole Porter and Irving Berlin on the menu. But even though it's unashamedly pop all the way, to Tommy, every project is the ultimate. That's the secret of his success, and people take note of his advice.
It is a beautiful ensemble of musicians, and I'm really looking forward for the concerts.
With 48 years behind Tommy as a professional musician, there's no shortage of highlights. Several Royal Command performances and the opening of the Sydney Entertainment Centre, to name a few. But Tommy Tico still loves to slot in a solo spot.
I'm sort of self-indulging, and in every concert that I do, I sneak in at least 3 or 4 solos, just for my own pleasure, and I suppose the audience likes it as well.
This first series of concerts features popular entertainer Simon Gallagher and young Adelaide singer Penny Hay. Tonight's opening at Singleton is a sellout, but there's still the chance to get along to the Newcastle Workers' Club tomorrow night or Saturday afternoon to hear the maestro and his music. But even so, fear not. Tommy is sure this won't be his final stint with the Hunter Orchestra.
I'll be coming back here more often, and not just with the sort of middle-of-the-road concert, but a program of more classical things as well.
It was business as usual for the picketers today, continuing the protest, now nearly 18 months old. On Tuesday, the Area Health Service confirmed it was prepared to compromise on the debate, keeping the hospital in public hands, probably as a nursing home. A meeting was called for the picketers this Sunday to vote on the proposal. But some in the group of 30 people say it's not just a vote for the picket itself.
I think the public should be there to make the decision. It's a public hospital, it's a public picket, and it should be a public decision.
More than 12,000 people demonstrated to keep the hospital open in a street march in August 1991. But picketer Barbara Hard says only a select group maintained the protest. Public interest soon faded.
I've got nothing against the public, but where have they all been for 18 months? When we've sat here day and night, winter and summer, freezing cold, really hot. No, it's been the same ones, and we feel we should be allowed to vote.
It's a debate that picketers don't need after a long and constant battle. A meeting will go ahead at the former hospital site on Sunday at 11 a.m. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Life is full of seemingly impossible hurdles: climbing Mount Everest, breathing underwater, running as a Liberal candidate in the Labor heartland of Newcastle. While Glenn Turner hasn't tackled the first two, he's taken on the third challenge, being the endorsed Liberal Party candidate for the seat of Newcastle in the March federal election.
It's a great challenge. I'm looking forward to it, and it's winnable.
You think it is winnable?
I certainly think it's winnable. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
Because he believes it's winnable, Mr Turner has resigned as chairman of Hunter Water and has taken to the streets, telling people how to vote.
It's Australia's best city. But let's have the best representative. Am I convinced? For precisely that reason, that for 93 years they have voted Labor. The country's at a crossroads, Newcastle's at a crossroads, it's time for a change. We've had 10 years of Labor and nothing's happened.
Scott Bevan, NBN News.
It's a sight to make an old salt's heart skip a beat. Battleships, ships in bottles and square riggers. Mostly the work of model boat enthusiasts, many with a bent for history, probably all with a packet of patience. The work is intricate and fastidious in detail, old records and drawings consulted for faithful recreations. There's the crowded Newcastle Harbour vehicular ferry, the Koondaloo. That vessel plied the port until the early 70s. There's also a working model of the Japanese submarine I-21. The boat that launched World War II mini-submarine raids on Sydney. Paintings reincarnate long-lost lake and river workboats. Modeller Bert Young, who has just one arm, built his own special tools and devoted hundreds of hours to several of the models in the exhibition.
Years to achieve a completed ship, and this is something I think kids today have no idea about.
A new-look Tuggerah Lakes Tourist Information Centre was given the official OK by State Transit and Tourism Minister Bruce Baird. Last financial year, about $200 million tourist dollars was spent on the Central Coast, a 22% increase on the previous year. 358,000 people explored the Wyong Shire.
So you must be doing something very right up in the area.
The Minister said the Tourist Office would be a valuable tool for the region if Sydney wins the 2000 Olympics, aiming the millions of extra visitors to some of the best places in the state.
I'll be devoting no time at all to that. People don't come along to hear that, and I believe that people are insulted by that sort of thing.
With the village go behind them, and of course it's going to
put the shop front on it. We'll be able to put the first-class road. It'll be well signposted, and people coming there.
The fish were first noticed on Thursday when hundreds were found washed up on Newcastle beaches. Over the weekend, local fishermen reported hauling in hundreds of dying and dead fish in their nets. There's also believed to be many more thousands of fish decaying on the ocean floor. Could it possibly be that all the fish in that area have been killed?
Well, it's too soon to be able to answer that one, and I guess that's one of many questions that we're asking at the moment. We're not short on questions, but it'll be a little while before we have some of the answers.
Specimens taken by the Environment Protection Authority have been sent to a Lismore laboratory for analysis. Those results should be back within a few days. Early sampling suggests the area involved stretches from the harbour mouth south to Swansea. In the middle of this is the Hunter Water Corporation's Burwood Beach outfall. It's very likely a toxic substance has escaped through the system.
The outfall seems to be the epicentre for the area that's affected, and that fairly logically leads us to start investigating that and taking a systematic look at, well, for a start, what's going out there now. So we've instructed the Hunter Water Corporation to undertake some additional monitoring to see what's going out, and secondly, to do some trace monitoring back through their sewage system that feeds into that plant.
And that's exactly what Hunter Water was doing this afternoon. There are 5 major drains which lead to the Burwood plant. Samples were taken from each to see if there's any trace of a chemical substance.
It's possible that some industries somewhere in the area may have been responsible for this contamination, yes.
If an industry is responsible, then the corporation says it has a good chance of catching them. The other possibility is that someone using a truck dumped the substance into the system late at night. If that is the case, then it will almost be impossible to find the culprit. Jodie McKay, NBN News. St George's Scott Goulet and Eastern Suburbs second rower Craig Salvatore will be on opposite sides of the field when they next meet. But today they are in Newcastle promoting the Challenge Cup series, which comes to Newcastle on Wednesday night. Their poor form last year didn't seem to worry Eastern Suburbs when they took out the recent Coca-Cola Sevens competition. But as Craig Salvatore well knows, Sevens is a lot different to regular football.
This is 13, it's a totally different game, and we're looking forward. We've had 2 trial games for a lead-up, so we're quietly confident we can go in and beat St George.
St George were the second best team in last year's Winfield series, beaten by Brisbane in the grand final. But the team's seen a lot of changes, and East are hoping to capitalise on this.
They've lost a couple of players, namely their captain and probably their chief playmaker, who was a 5'8", so they'll probably they've got to change that area around and find somebody new to do it. So we'll probably be looking at probably attacking areas like that.
The side will be pretty similar to what played last year. I think there's only Peter Coyne, who played 5'8", he's retired, so it'll be pretty similar. So hopefully we can get back into the form we were in last year.
Both teams see the Challenge Cup series as a good lead-up to the Winfield Cup, and both are quietly confident. The night begins with a Newcastle versus Canberra match at 6:30, followed by the East and St George clash at 8:30. Jodie McKay, NBN News.